Oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
And welcome to the Comic Queens podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Annie. And today we unfortunately have some pretty sad news to bring to everybody ahead of recording our episode. We have just gotten word that some of our favorite titles from Manta are actually leaving the platform pretty soon. So if you have not already read Bloody Sweet, Nice to Meet You, or my personal favorite, My Red String of Fate, then you should get to reading them pretty soon. Bloody Sweet will be leaving Manta's platform on January 23rd. Nice to Meet You will be leaving on January 28th. And My Red String of Fate will be leaving on February 4th. So if you have not read these titles, we do highly suggest that you get to reading them. We do know that Bloody Sweet and My Red String of Fate are actually available on Leeson Comics, so they are available for purchase with coins. However, I haven't seen Nice to Meet You on any other platforms. So I'd say get to reading. It'll be a great way to end off your January. But without further ado, today's episode is not surrounding all of the sad news with comics that are leaving, but rather comics that we are hoping to manifest the return of. Some of these titles have been gone for quite a while, and we'll kind of get into it. Some of them have their own reasoning for being gone. A lot of them are end of season, or some are just on hiatus in general. But Alex and I have put together a list of some of the titles that have been gone for what feels like a lifetime.
Series that we are seriously missing.
No kidding. Now, before we get into this, we are extremely understanding of the fact that artists need and deserve a break. Really, this is just us making a list of webcomics that have us so hooked that we're still just waiting by bated breath for whenever this next episode comes out. So, without further ado, we're going to delve into some of the comic titles that we are looking forward to coming back whenever they should return.
Yeah. It was actually really fun to go through and do the notes for these too, because there were so many things that I had forgotten about with some of these series, because it has been a while since we've read them and we read a lot of things.
A lot of comics.
So it was it was a good refresh.
Yeah, absolutely. It is nice. And it's some titles that, I mean, when you haven't gotten to see them for a while, it's kind of nice to have a refresher. Mm-hmm. So hopefully if you have read some of these series, you can kind of walk through with us down memory lane, kind of remember where we've left off so we know what to look forward to when they do come back. But also, if you've never read these series, just a quick note that this will be a huge spoiler episode because it's talking about where the series left off at a lot of season endings or close to the end of the series in general. Mm-hmm. So, to start out the list, I wanted to bring up Let's Play. I know that I have brought this up on the podcast several times, but not really super in-depth. This is one that I do feel like I've just been waiting on forever. It was last published on September 5th of 2022. So we're looking at like a year and a half since reading this webcomic. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a story about Sam Young. She's an aspiring game developer, and she made this game called Ruminate, and finds out that a famous VTuber named Martial Law actually played her game and like gave it a review of his own. And it turns out he did not give it a glowing review. So Martial Law basically told all of his fan base, which he has a lot of, not to play this game. And it was getting negative reviews left and right. She then finds out that this VTuber is actually her next door neighbor. So with all of the craziness that ensues in this entire series, we are left with our three main characters, Sam Young, our female lead, as well as two male leads, Martial Law, also known as Benji, or Charles, her manager and her current love interest. And where we left off in the series, Charles and Sam are actually hookup buddies at this point. And we do kind of learn that the reason that Charles is so guarded against being in a very in-depth relationship is because his ex-wife had cheated on him while pregnant with another guy's baby.
Oh my gosh.
So essentially it caused a bunch of trust issues in his relationships in general. And Sam really comes to his aid and comes to comfort him. And you do see this image of essentially him saying mine and these fake chains almost wrapping around her. And so you start to get this feeling that their relationship isn't so much just a hookup to either of them at this point, but also it's kind of on those bounds of being just unhealthy.
Yeah.
Very obsessive, very not trusting because of a lot of the different issues in his past relationships. And obviously he's leaning on her for more than a hookup. now that they're kind of opening up on these different levels with each other. Meanwhile, Sam and Marshall, they're still playing games together. They're still just kind of hanging out in their virtual world as well as in real life. And she kind of has this conversation with Sam where he's like, if you're feeling things for Charles, you kind of need to tell him that your relationship is progressing and tell him how you feel. Because she keeps going back and forth saying, this is my boss at work. And when he sees me there, he's always criticizing and evaluating me. I don't like feeling like I should be self-conscious of what I'm doing, etc. But when we're alone together, I enjoy our time. Mm-hmm. And so he's just kind of giving her the advice of like, just go for it. Like, tell him how you're feeling and really like define what that relationship needs to be for the both of you, especially if you feel like it's starting to cross those lines already. But meanwhile, Charles comes over, and when he comes to her house, she essentially kind of shuts down the idea of sex with him and asks to cuddle instead. And he kind of starts getting suspicious and a little bit withdrawn by it, but he accepts the offer and he's like, yeah, that's fine. We can have just a chill night. And anyways, as soon as Sam's phone rings and has like a little ding from a new message, he starts looking at her phone.
Don't like that.
Yeah, we don't like that at all. So Sam essentially wakes up seeing him looking at her phone, and you kind of don't know what's going to happen next. Meanwhile, you do find out that someone sketchy has been hanging out outside of the apartment complex, and anybody who has read this series knows that Sam has an extremely overprotective father who is now a little bit concerned about whoever this sketchy sleuth is that's kind of just hanging around where his daughter lives. But as for that, it's a pretty ambiguous ending. We don't really know where things are going to go from there. I do have a few of my own theories. I really do think that Sam and Charles are going to be confronting each other, especially about the overstep of boundaries. The checking the phone is not cool. It's really manipulative and toxic. And so I think that they're going to have a serious sit-down conversation of where those boundaries are, what they actually are to one another, and see if that's even something they're going to be able to move past. But also, I do think the guy that's snooping around is actually there to be taking a look in on Benji's life, because I don't think that somebody'd be snooping in on Sam. It just doesn't feel right. But a YouTuber, I mean, probably.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, especially if they live in the same place. So that's where we've left off. I do know that this series is not coming back to Webtoon, and currently the creator is just kind of trying to find a new home for the series in general. So hopefully we'll get some news and find out where Let's Play is going to be published next. But this is one that you can actually buy physical copies of in the store. So at Barnes & Noble, any other bookstore or bookseller, they may actually have this for you if you want to buy and own the series yourself. And it's still available on Webtoon to read up to season 3. So
is season 4 a book that you could buy then? Or
no,
it's just up
season
to
4 hasn't come out yet.
Okay.
So we're waiting to see where it comes out next. But if you want to read all 182 episodes that are already out, it's definitely a series worth reading.
Very exciting. I can't wait for that to come back. I know that's one you've been waiting for a while.
Yeah, we see you, though. She's working on other stuff.
Yeah.
She has Dragon King's Oath coming out.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Which you are also very excited
about. Yes, I'm very excited about. And it will be on Manta, so part of me is fingers crossing that Let's Play will come on Manta.
Will also be on Manta, yeah. Well, the next one on the list that we have is Secret of Umbra. This is one that we've talked about before. We recommended it in our Cozy Fall reads. So this one has just very kind of cozy vibes to it. It's like a very soft color palette. It is 52 episodes. There is currently 1 season completed on Manta right now. And basically we start off with this one with Gabriele, and so he's moving to the town of Umbra with his family. They've inherited a cottage after the death of his grandma, and so they're moving to this cottage to live where she used to live. And he's not happy about this because he doesn't want to leave the city, he doesn't want to leave his friends. I mean, typical teenager, no one really wants to move away from their current life that they know, so not surprising there.
Even his shitty boyfriend.
We don't like his shitty boyfriend. We also see that he doesn't want to move there because it's like not got a lot of access to technology. So he doesn't want to be disconnected from his phone and further like distancing himself from the life that he used to know. But once he gets there, he does end up meeting a couple of really great friends, Beatrice and Ilya. And they are the trio of the series, basically. Beatrice is super into witches, and the town, we find out, has a really interesting past with witches. It's known for having a lot of witches around, kind of like a Salem place where there was atrocities that happened to the witches. There's a memorial in town about all of this, and people don't believe in witches, but also don't want to mess with it and are no, witches are weird, stay away from this. And so we find Beatrice and Gabriele end up investigating some weird things that are going on around the town. And Ilya was not involved. They see basically a sacrifice. They come upon a sacrificial site where they find blood on the ground and claw marks and everything, and they're freaked out about it. And that happens to just Beatrice and Gabriele, and then Ilya's not around. Later on, which is where we kind of get to where we are now in the series, the three of them are going to watch a meteor shower at Ilya's family's house in the country. It's Christmas Eve. Their families all let them go be alone in a cabin on Christmas Eve. Don't think my parents would have done the same, but that's fine.
Mine either.
So they're watching this meteor shower. Everything's great. They're just talking about how happy they are to have each other in their lives. Gabriele says that he's, really grateful that he found these two new friends when he moved to this town where he wasn't excited about it at all.
Yeah.
And then they hear a noise in the woods, and Gabriele and Beatrice are super interested in going to find out what this noise is. Ilya, probably the rest of us, is no, don't do that. That seems dangerous. But they end up doing it anyways.
As high schoolers would.
Yes, you would. I don't know if I would.
I would not. But as some high schoolers might.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But they go investigate. They find a wolf. This wolf has weird mushrooms growing on its back. It's very unsettling. The picture, I forgot how creepy it looked. I had to show Annie when I was rereading this one because it was just super, super creepy to see this wolf again. And basically we see that Ilya starts talking to the wolf and saying, these mushrooms are poisoning you. Let me help you. And then he starts kind of glowing. His eyes glow. He's got glowing lines on his face, and he starts talking, doing a spell basically, and gets the mushrooms off of the wolf. And then we see that Gabriele and Beatrice have seen this and now know that Ilya is a witch, and he is freaked out. He's like, I told you guys to leave so that you wouldn't see this, and he wants to run away and hide. And throughout the series, they kind of make you think that Beatrice's ancestors were going to be witches and that she would be the witch. So this was a twist that we kind of got to see, that Ilya is actually the witch. And we see that that he's scared of what's going to happen now, because I'm sure he's been told his whole life that people are scared of witches. If they know you're a witch, bad things are going to happen. And so now that's where we left off. We don't know. They haven't talked about it yet. But what I imagine is going to happen is I think that Ilya is going to try and run away and hide from them because he's scared. But I think that Gabe and Beatrice are not going to let him run away. I think they're going to chase after him and try and help him, make sure that he knows that they're still friends and that they're okay, and they're going to protect him from whatever happens next.
Yeah, I will say it was a really great twist. The art in this one is gorgeous.
It is.
It really is just so pretty, and it really just fits the very cute, slice of life almost style of this series. It's my favorite school life one.
Yeah,
I would have to say.
Yeah, it is, because it's it's not just a school life. It's got that little bit of mystery of what's going on. So yeah, I really like this one. And I know we said this last time too, but when we were first reading this week to week, it actually came out and said that it was completed when it meant that season 1 was completed, and they accidentally marked it with the tag completed. Annie and I think it was before work, we called each other and we're freaking out like, oh my gosh, this is not an ending of a series. What just happened?
I may or may not have had to go to the Manta Reddit for consolation about all of it. I was just like, how could this happen? And then a very kind Redditor corrected me. So I was glad to see that tag changed.
Yeah.
Because it did not feel complete.
Yeah.
So, I'm just glad that it wasn't.
Me too. I'm excited for that one to come back. I really want to see what happens next. Now that we know Ilya is a witch, where are they going to take this?
I know. I'm so excited. It'll be so wonderful. So, the next one on the list that I'm hoping to manifest the return of is actually going to be the Fantastical After School Writing Club. I know I have mentioned this one before, but this actually hasn't had a posted update since June 5th of 2023. So we're going on like 7 months since this one has been there. And I'm itching to know what's happening next. Mm-hmm. It's 1 season and 19 episodes, so it is a pretty quick read whenever this one is announcing it's coming back. Highly recommend getting yourself caught up if you haven't already. This one is essentially about 2 college rivals. They were both English majors. They were both butting heads. And Taeyeon and Yongjin basically said, like, I hate you. I'm so glad that after college, I'll never have to see you again. And then, of course, they both get this very unreal opportunity where all of their living expenses are paid and they make $5,000 a month just as writing teachers for 8-year-olds in this school. And of course, they both get the same position and they're working together. So basically what ends up happening, they're trying to teach these 8-year-olds how to write compelling stories. And so each person gets a different, I guess, like excerpt they get to write or chapter of this book where they, like, as a collaboration have to write different stories together. And they all decide that Taeyeon and Yongjin, the teachers, are actually going to be the main characters. What they don't know is that the stories the kids are writing come to life. So where we left off in this series, the most recent story that was written by one of the students was actually written as a story where they had all turned into animals, and it was essentially like the animal kingdom. The student had given Yongjin, one of the writing teachers, just the preface that this was going to be an allegory story. And so Yongjin is kind of starting to piece things together. He goes, do you think that this is a story about how we're essentially prey for the villagers here? Like, we're subject to everything they're forcing us to do. Like, obviously, this is just a really nuts situation. And he's just kind of like trying to get everything clear in his mind of like what's possibly going on. Mm-hmm. Taeyeon takes a very different approach and she just gets really upset. She's like, sometimes this even reflects real life. And she goes, but that would be weird because you don't actually have a crush on me, Yongjin. And he kind of blushes and kind of refuses to answer for a while. And she gets really freaked out and essentially leaves. She's like, he can't like me. We were rivals. That's not how things work. As we all know, that is how things work. But she essentially just goes kind of for a walk by herself. And she runs into Dobong, the hot uncle of one of the students, who in multiple stories, she just has the absolute hots for, has the hots for him in real life. He's kind of just an impossible Adonis looking man. Mm-hmm. And he kind of slips up and says, oh, wow, your hair really is soft, just like Yongjin said. And she realizes that this isn't something that was written by the students. Originally, all of the people in the town were only making comments on the stories that the students had written, but it was a private conversation she had had with her colleague. So she starts realizing that he slipped up. She's not supposed to know that they know things that aren't written down, and they essentially have an inside look into their lives in general. Mm-hmm. So her approach is that she's actually going to go and threaten the chief of this village to figure out what's going on. And when she goes to threaten him, she goes with like a bat, and she's like, open up the fucking door. And the chief starts frantically typing on his computer. And as she makes it inside, he clicks the enter button and sends her to a deserted island. So the chief obviously knows she's catching on to things that are going on. She's pissed off, but also she's just like devastated to have been on this deserted island that he sent her to for 10 hours before the chief's great-grandson ends up letting her out. And once she gets back, she goes to talk to Yongjin, and she realizes that Yongjin and Dobong, like they had been in some of the stories previously, are seeming very chummy to one another. They're like meeting up, and they say that they're having like a little exercise time together and stuff like that. And she's kind of getting the feeling that actually they're starting a boy love in real life. Not as one of the kids' stories, but in real life. But as this is happening, the students aren't writing anything anymore. So she's like, that's weird. And Yongjin suggests to her that since he and Dobong are together and it seems to have kept people happy, that she can leave because he doesn't want her to get mixed up in everything else. And they get in a huge argument, and she says, don't act like this is for my benefit. And he says, fine, then leave, because it's not. It's for my happy ending. Mm-hmm. And so she leaves on a bus, and that's where the season ends.
Oh my gosh.
I did not remember this being the ending, but I loved it.
Yeah.
It was great to reread because I do have my own theory that this really is Yongjin, like, catching on to some things that are happening. Like, maybe if you actually make one of the series or the things that the kids write come true, then they don't write anything crazy about you. And so I really do think that he's trying to project this image of their real life boy love coming to life in order to take the kids' attention off of her as a sense of like selfless love.
Oh my gosh. I don't remember any of that as the ending.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to have to go back and reread it because I'm surprised at how little I remember about that one.
I know. I mean, it has been since July.
Yeah.
And we do read a lot of series. So I will say, oh, sorry, it's been since June. So yeah, it's been a while. But yeah, I will say it was one that definitely, it was nice to reread it.
Yeah.
And we're desperately waiting to see what happens next because it was so funny. But moving forward, another one that has been on a season break for quite a while. This one is on Webtoon, and it's called My In-Laws Are Obsessed With Me. This title has not posted an update since July 1st of 2023, and I am desperately awaiting some sort of an update. This series is 1 season and 75 episodes, so there's a substantial amount of content for the first season itself. Mm-hmm. And the story in general is about Parashati. She was murdered by her fiance, sister, and her stepmother with some sort of a poison, but she's, however, reincarnated and basically just tries to change her life around in order to abandon them in search of a life that will keep her safe from suffering that same ending. Mm-hmm. So she ends up not accepting the engagement from her boyfriend, leaving her entire family, and seeking out this duke that everyone's pretty afraid of. His name's Duke Thurdeo Lapaleon, and he has a bunch of power in the dukedom in general. But she basically says, in return for keeping her safe, she'll marry him so that he's not continuously bombarded with all of these marriage interests, things like that, because he's really just kind of wanting to be left alone. He has one of the princesses pursuing him just incessantly, and he is very uncomfortable. He doesn't want to be around other people. You do find out that his entire family is cursed with poisonous blood. And so essentially, not only is this blood poisonous to other people, but to themselves. Mm-hmm. So he himself is suffering just from existing. And so they kind of find that comfort in each other. Where we were left off, Parashati was invited to one of her friends' weddings. And in an out-of-the-ordinary situation, Thurdeo actually agrees to accompany her. This is following just a really bad bout of him being sick from his own blood. So the poison had him completely knocked out. He was having seizures. And like really, his health was at risk. And Parashati stood by his side, which was not really expected of them in their contractual relationship. So in the meantime, you find out that Parashati's stepmother has also now been jailed because Thurdeo was actually able to prove that not only did Parashati's stepmother try to murder Parashati, but she also successfully murdered Parashati's father and her own husband. This was also with using some of the black market blood from the Lapaleon family, which people are selling as poison.
Where do they get it?
So that's earlier on in the series. Earlier on, you do find out that essentially one of the brothers had kept his own daughter captive and would sell his own daughter's blood. She's like a child.
Aww.
And he would sell her blood because it was more potent when they were younger. So in any case, they do catch on to all of this. And you do find out that the Princess Dodalea, who had been trying to marry Thurdeo, basically takes on the stepsister of Parashati as somewhat of like a spy, somebody to get some information for her. And we see that she's actually delusional. She like brings a group of people together to essentially have these cult-like meetings where they pray together that she'll one day end up with their Deo. And you find out that she, at a certain point in a previous life, was also a victim of taking this poison, but loves the fact that with that comes so much power. Mm-hmm. So instead of being afraid of the blood, she actually thinks that it would be wonderful to join hands with their Deo and kind of take control of the empire herself. So with that, Therdeo does go to the wedding with Parashati, to her friend's wedding. And when they go to throw the bouquet, Parashati does make it very clear that only one of the friends is not engaged or married. And so everyone had kind of agreed that the friend should catch the bouquet. Mm-hmm. Unbeknownst to her, however, the bouquet goes flying over the friend's head, and Therdeo catches the bouquet. And everyone congratulates them on an already blossoming love and forever years of happiness together. So Parashati kind of takes him aside, and Therdeo's a little bit nervous about what she's going to say. He's like, oh boy, she's probably mad that I caught the bouquet. And instead, she just cracks up laughing and says, like, did you see the look on their faces? That was absolutely outrageous. It's so funny. And, you know, Therdeo, even though he's been having all of these second thoughts, realizing that Parashati is still trying to make plans for herself for whenever the marriage falls through or whenever they aren't together, etc., he essentially says, I want you to come to the Grand Dukedom with me. Mm-hmm. Like, I want you to continue to stay with me and for our lives to continue to grow together past where we're at this point. And after that, that's the season ending. So I have plenty of theories. I think lots more conflict is yet to come with the princess. She's an absolute nut job. So I think that'll make for a very interesting second season. But also, I'm loving seeing the mutual attraction and affection growing between the two of them, especially because Parashati is not dumb. Like, she's made very smart decisions after being reincarnated, and I think that it's a really sweet story. So, if you have not read it already, I highly recommend.
It sounds great. This is definitely on my list, and I mean, it sounds really interesting. So maybe I'll have to read it now before it comes back out.
Yeah. There's a lot that happens in those 75 episodes. So,
well, another one that I know we are both super, super excited to come back at some point is The Fallen Duke and the Knight Who Hated Him.
Basically the Carlton story.
Basically. This was last updated on July 3rd, so it has been a while as well. This is one of both of our favorites. I adore this series. It is so good. So we've got 30 episodes, season 1 complete. So it starts off with Duke Lewison, who is brought back to life after he has chosen the wrong side of the war. Basically, there was a king, and when he died, his 2 sons were fighting for the throne. One of them was born from a mistress but was older, and then the other one was born from a queen and was younger. And so Lewison backed the second son, and he ends up dying, and the first son comes into power. When the first son comes into power, he asks Carlton, who is a knight and hates nobles, to go and try and take control of the South, which is like where all of the people who supported the second son were. And in his first life, Lewison flees this and ends up living on the streets and being homeless and kind of having to just find his own way. In this, he gets reincarnated by a saint who loves him and says, please return my love back to the world, and goes back in time to the day that Carlton was trying to take over his kingdom. And so we see Lewison decides that this time he's not going to make the same mistakes and run away and abandon everyone who he has known and loved for his whole life, all of his retainers, all of his people. He's not leaving them this time. Mm-hmm. And he goes and he surrenders to Carlton. And then Carlton ends up staying there while he secures the kingdom. This leads to the greatest miscommunication of all time.
It is, yeah. I mean, between that and Punch Drunk Love, I would have to say are my favorite miscommunication.
Punch Drunk Love, I love.
Yes.
But this is absolutely my favorite miscommunication. I love it. It is so good. So basically, Lewison, his retainers think that Carlton is trying to seduce Lewison. And Carlton, because Lewison has all of this knowledge of his past life, of how to survive with very little, Carlton thinks that that is a sign that he was not brought up well and that he is being held captive by his retainers so that they can maintain the power. It is the greatest plot ever. I love it. But we are beyond that now.
Yes.
So, in the more recent episodes, Carlton is going back to the capital where the first king is. Lewison ends up needing to go back to the capital as well so that he gets a letter after Carlton and his men leave saying that he needs to go to the capital to basically declare his loyalty to the new king. So Carlton waits for him at camp. They basically send a letter and say, hey, the Duke is coming. Please wait for him so you can escort him south or north to the capital, whichever way it is. Mm-hmm. And so he does. While they're on their way, Lewison's carriage gets attacked by dire wolves, and we see that Lewison was attacked by his, his servant, Ruger, mm-hmm. and then Carlton, saves him, but doesn't save anyone else, unfortunately. All of the people who he was traveling with have all died, but Carlton and Lewison escape, and in the meantime, Ruger goes to the capital and says that Carlton has kidnapped Lewison. So by the time that Carlton and Lewison make it to the city, they see a wanted poster that Carlton is now a wanted man for kidnapping the Duke.
He is wanted by all of us, but not for that reason.
He is wanted very much, but no, not for that reason. So they end up disguising themselves. Lewison cuts off his hair. And Carlton is very distraught about this. Carlton dyes his hair, and then they are basically preparing so that Lewison will be a pilgrim, and Carlton is going to pose as a mercenary, and they're trying to get passage on a ship to go to the kingdom or the capital and say what actually happened, and kind of put everything to rest that Carlton is not a kidnapper, and that Ruger is actually the one who tried to kill Lewison and killed everyone else. Yeah. And that's where we leave off. We also, at this part, at the very end, in the last episode, the last couple of episodes, but then in the last episode, we see that Carlton has realized that he has feelings for Lewison now. He was lusting after Lewison after trying to give him a haircut, and has a steamy moment with himself in the bathroom. And that's where we leave off.
Yeah, I will say it was a pretty good ending. It was a happy ending.
It was a happy ending for him. But as far as theories go for this one, I don't really have many theories. I think that they are going to get passage on the ship. We see in the prologue that they are on a ship when they kiss.
They're doing some, yeah.
So I know that they're going to get on the ship. I think that Carlton is the saint.
I do too.
That's my only theory. Carlton has to be the saint in the past life. And it's funny too because Lewison throughout the series is saying, oh, the saint taught me this. The saint did this. I know this because of the saint. And Carlton gets super jealous about it. But I think that Carlton is the saint.
He's jealous of himself.
He's jealous of himself because he doesn't know.
I love it. Honestly, this one does have me laughing like every episode. The miscommunication is hysterical.
It's so funny.
And the characters are great.
The characters are so good in this one. I adore this series. I think I'm going to, once they announce that it's coming back, hopefully soon.
If you're listening, please.
If anyone is listening, please. they announce that it's coming back, I'm definitely going to reread it.
I'll reread it too. We'll buddy read it.
Yeah, we could buddy read it on here.
Beautiful.
Okay, so another one that has been gone for a while is The Blood Moon. This was last updated on July 10th. It's a shorter series too, 23 episodes out, 1 season complete. We've talked about this one as well. I think maybe we, even in the same episode that we talked about Secret of Umbra, I think this was a fall read that we recommended. And this one we have Linnea, Alexis, and Edward. And basically Linnea is sold into a marriage by her uncle, and she's being married off to Eddard. And after their wedding, she is left alone, basically, to learn about their religion. She keeps having weird encounters with her new stepson,
who's like her same age.
Who is the same age as her. Or
older than her.
Yeah, you're probably right. Definitely older than her. And it's, like, definitely mysterious what's going on. We know that there's, like, a ceremony that has to happen. It's supposed to benefit Alexis. He doesn't really know what's going on. Linnea doesn't, but everyone else does seem to know. And that's basically it. It's just, like, kind of creepy. There's also a painting in one episode of Alexis's mom that we see where it looks exactly like Linnea. It looks like a painting of Linnea. Yeah, he's got
mommy issues.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's definitely odd. So, where we left off, there are knights coming from the capital. They're going to House Matai, which is Eddard's house. And basically, they have noticed that he has had a lot of brides, and they've all died.
Isn't that weird?
It's a little mysterious. They're thinking,
you mean your husband or wife doesn't die all the time?
I only have the one, and he's still alive.
Good. Let's keep it that way.
So they think it's weird. They want to figure out what's going on. And so they're traveling to the north to figure out what's going on with that. They're trying to save Linnea. And then we cut to Linnea, and they're taking part in a ceremony, basically. Alexis has finally been brought in to this ceremony. He still doesn't really know what's going on, though, until he sees that Linnea has been tied to a statue, and they have said, basically, that she has not lived a pure life since she's been here, even though most of the time she is just doing, like, reading her books.
Yeah, and, making out with her stepson.
Well, she did do that, so I guess you're right.
There are a couple things. Like, all she does is read, and kiss her son.
Okay, when you say it like that, it's weird, but
it's just the way I said it, that's all.
I mean, it's weird, okay. But she's being whipped on a statue. I don't think anything she's done deserves that.
No, I would say that.
And this is when Alexis steps in and he grabs the whip, and that's where it ends. So, I mean, who's to say?
I think it's pretty great. I will say, I think that this series has several times hinted at the fact that it's a vampire story.
It's definitely a vampire story.
So I think that theory-wise, this is definitely one of the ones where maybe he's going to realize that in order to meet some sort of prophecy with the vampire clan, she's like a sacrifice.
I think she's a sacrifice, as all of his other brides seem to have been. But I don't see how, if he's a vampire, I mean, they haven't explained in what capacity they
why
need
Alexis
blood
wants to fuck his mom. They haven't explained that part either.
Okay, I'm focusing on the vampire part.
Oh, okay. There's a lot bouncing around up there for me.
They haven't. They have. No. All right, whatever. I'm moving on.
The theories. They're gonna get together. Something about vampires.
They're gonna get together. It's about vampires. But what I'm saying is, how can he be a vampire and not know that he needs blood? Does he need blood?
He knows he needs blood. But I think maybe it's almost something like it'll keep him so that he doesn't have to drink blood. Like he needs like a sacrifice in his name or something in order to keep him like satiated or something. I don't know. It's not like Twilight. I know that story. I think we should do like a total count of how many times Twilight has come up in our series.
If you were playing a drinking game, it would not end well for you with how many times
we actually don't recommend playing that drinking game. But yeah, honestly, I am excited for it to come back. There's a lot of mysteries that have not been resolved here.
I need to know what's happening. Like, do I approve of a mother kissing her stepson? No.
I would hope not. You nasty.
But I need to know what's going to happen.
I will say, too, like, she's not set up for success here because the stepson's coming onto her. They're also the exact same age. And she never sees her actual husband. Like, I don't think he's even talked to her.
She's also been sold into this marriage.
Yeah.
Like, this was not her choice. She wasn't like, I want to marry this old man so that I can get with this other guy. She was thrown into this place. I'm defending her.
Justice for Linnea.
Poor Linnea.
Honestly, though, I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited for it to come back as much shit as I gave you.
You give this one a lot of shit, but it's fine.
I chose violence today.
Yeah. So the last one that we want to talk about is The Prince of Southland. This one was last released in July 18th. Actually, that is not 100% true because there was an episode that was accidentally released in October. I don't know the exact date, but it kind of threw people off. People, including myself, where I was super excited. I'm people. It could have just been me, where I was super excited that it was coming back and then saw that the next episode was set to release in 91 days. This is on Webtoon, so you can see the next release date for, future episodes.
Yeah.
And was very confused why it was all of a sudden one episode and then 90 episodes, but later found out that it was not intentionally released. Mm-hmm. So this one is 97 episodes are out right now. I've also talked about this one before briefly, but basically this is about Donnie Ollie, who is arrested for kissing a droid in a club. And he's from like a really wealthy, well-known family. And he's now only known for his criminal record, which after kissing a droid in a club and getting arrested for that has only grown from there. Mm-hmm. And he ends up going to a club one night and he meets, a man falls on him.
Meet is a strong word.
Meet is a strong word. From like a story up, basically. A man who's on the run named Jensen, and he's being chased, and Donnie doesn't really know why, but he helps him escape. And we find out later on that Jensen has escaped what looks like a prison cell, and he was being held captive by the villain of the story called the Witch. And much later on, we also find out that Jensen is technically a droid or a cyborg. We don't know, because he was in this great aftershock that happened during like huge destruction over cities. And he was in this aftershock. He's like one of the few survivors from the area. Mm-hmm. The witch took him and replaced his brain with a droid brain. So then it's actually really interesting because in the most recent episodes, they're talking about that. Like, that's a very new discovery in the series. So they're talking about the fact that he's got a droid brain and saying, does that make him a droid? He was born as a human. Mm-hmm. Is he a cyborg? So they're having like this kind of huge debate about it because technically he is owned by the witch. He's considered to be a droid, her property, and has escaped. And so the witch has framed him for murder because when he gets arrested, he's got a chip basically that will alert the witch where he is, and he's been in hiding. So Jensen and Donnie, along with some other characters in the story, are trying to figure out how to like find evidence basically that he didn't kill anyone, so that they can say like, you know, he can be absolved of this crime. And he goes to Donnie's siblings' like secret lair basically, and is going to get all of their information off of this like giant computer. And while he's there, he is attacked by another droid, Joanna, who belongs to Donnie's sibling, Del. And Del ends up shooting Joanna because she is attacking Jensen. And that's where we leave off. So I am super excited to see what's going to happen with this one. There is a lot going on in this one, but I love it. I think that Jensen is going to work with Del now because Del also was working with the witch. But I think that Del is going to turn against the witch and start working with Jensen and Donnie to kind of put an end to all of this so that Jensen's not accused of murder. And then we're going to probably get into, is Jensen a person? Quote unquote a person. Like, do they consider him a person, or is he considered a droid? So that's what I think is going to happen next. This one is really, really interesting. The art is gorgeous. Going back through these panels, I was just like trapped in the beauty of the art again. There's music that goes with a lot of these episodes, which I played.
Freak me out. I kind of thought we were just kind of starting our own dance party for a second. So, you know, my mistake.
But it's a gorgeous, gorgeous series.
I will say, I have to add this one to my list. Maybe once we find out that it's coming back, that'll give me like the extra push I need.
It is coming back in 23 days.
So not soon enough, but it is coming back.
So you have to read it.
Yeah, I will. I'll have to read it. I will read it. It's just I have to prioritize all of the series that are leaving Manta.
Yeah, that's true.
So sad. But thank you all for joining us on part 1 of 2 for the series we're hoping to manifest the return of. If you've read any of these series, go ahead and give us your comments on what you think about your theories coming back from all of these seasons. Hopefully sooner rather than later. And if you haven't read these series, we do highly recommend them all. They're extremely great reads. A lot of them are actually really quick as well. So feel free to join in on us reading these. And we look forward to talking to you about more series on the next one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.